Hey guys, welcome to another episode. It is a hot one today in Texas. It's 102 outside right now and it's about 4:30 in the afternoon. So it's been really hot. I'm doing my best to keep the fans off for you guys. The noise drives me crazy, especially when I go back and edit the video, so I know it drives you crazy. I'm gonna do my best to keep those fans off. So if you're a big old nasty sweat ring, I ask for your forgiveness. I'm doing it for you. But in other news, we're going to do some great stuff today. We're finally getting to the fun part where we start customizing the car. We're going to start attacking our front turn signals. We don't have the original bumper, so we didn't come with it when we bought it. And those came with the original big square ones that were built in. So I've seen some people take the original ones that you can still buy and put them in a bracket behind these square pegs in the front. But I'm more of a fan of the metal mesh and the round ones and just wiring it in there. We've got about $40 worth of materials put into it, so it's definitely budget friendly, exactly what we want to do. It's already black metal, it's got the nice air holes in it, so that airflow can still continue through the brake calipers, which is very needed. So it's going to be a very cool product. That's including the lights. So I'm going to make sure to show you guys on the bench when we get over there, but very important announcement. I want you guys to listen here. It's important. At the very end of this episode, there's going to be a big announcement. A lot of people are going to like it, I'm going to like it, and I can't wait to share it with you guys, but it's not till the end of the episode. So make sure you stay tuned all the way through to get to that announcement. But anyway, let's get you guys over to the bench, and I'll start showing you what we got. Alright guys, so we've got about $40 worth of material. Some super glue I've already had. I'm going to show you what we'll do with this. But we've got these 2.5-inch marker lights. They're the round lights. They've even got the wiring already built into them, and they've got the light bulbs as well. And I was doing a lot of research online, and these turned out to be pretty good. I've got it popped off already, but you can see where the lens itself just press fits on under that housing. It's already got the bulb, everything, and it's not LED, which is nice for what our setup is right now, is we don't have that upgraded LED flasher, so we can go with our regular bulbs like the rest of the car and not have to worry about switching out flashers and all that good stuff to make them work. So these are just simple plug and play. We'll get the connectors on them and wire those back up to the factory turn signal wiring. But the other important part is we've got this material right here. Now I don't know how well if the camera's going to bug out on that, but you might be able to see it's got these little holes in it. And this I got from Home Depot. I think it was about $15, $17 for this. It's aluminum, so one, it's not going to rust. It's also already black, which is great. We don't have to paint it. And that means it's not going to rust. And we can trim it to fit with some just simple tin snips to get them to fit. As far as putting the housing lights, the housings in there, these do have the little dimples on them on the side. So what I'm hoping is that if we cut the hole just small enough, then we can press fit that through to where the actual lens will clip on, but there's enough tension on the sides to hold it. We'll have to give it a few tests to see if that actually works, but worst case scenario, we can actually just probably put some dabs of the glue on there to keep it attached to the metal. This is water resistant, weather resistant, all that good stuff to make sure that it'll survive under the car, not just fall off. So altogether, I'm looking at about $40 worth of materials. I'll make sure to put a link in the description for these. Of course, price varies by region, but this is the part number for these lights if you guys are interested in getting some for yourself. That's the part number there. Like I said, this makes the job so much easier, and it's going to be a huge difference. And now we'll be able to have our front turn signals so we can follow the rules and not break the law, which is, you know, not fun. So let's get started. So our ultimate goal is to put the light in here. We could put one in here, but I think it'll look a little bit better centered in the big square hole, and that mesh will just carry over into this one as well. That way it's just not a gap. But what we're going to do is measure this square hole here. We're looking at about 4.5 and about 4.25. So it's a little bit smaller at the top, which is fine, but we'll need to go, let's just say 6 inches across, and let's say just kind of rough here 5 inches up. That way it gives us 1 inch of overlap to the car, so we can attach it on the back side with plenty of grip area with all those little holes. We're going to want to make sure we have much surface area as possible to grab the actual car, because there's going to be a lot of force from the wind coming through this and creating drag and pushing on that. So let's get us out a little 6x5 piece and we'll do a test fit. So we have this decorative edge on here. I'm not too worried about it. I can always snip it off if it starts to become too rigid. But we're going to go 6. I have a silver Sharpie so we can actually see it. Go for another one. And we're going to go 5. You could take some tin snips to this if you wanted to, and cut it, and you get that just taken care of, no problem. But we're feeling extra aggressive today, so we're going to take our cutoff wheel and we're going to cut this out. It actually worked out really well where these little tiny holes are, were perfectly where our measurements were, so it's going to be pretty easy to follow. So we've got our piece cut. We do have a lot of burrs on the back side from that wheel, so we're going to take those off with a file like this, and we'll get this all cleaned up and we'll go do our test fit. So we've got it in there. Now the real question is, I like it. One, blends in really nice, fits in really well with the car. I like the little detail when you get close, you can see the holes there. Now the question is, how we want to align it, so we can keep it straight up vertical, or I think that's really our only option, honestly. But it fits maybe like that, so it kind of follows the line of the car. It was a little off, but a good thing is we can use these holes as our gauge for straightness. This is really hard with one hand, so don't judge me. But we're right, almost straight. So something like that, but I really like the way that looks, and it just kind of hides that hole a little bit. It's not so obnoxious, just a big old, you know, if we drop it, big old gap. So we'll be able to work that in pretty well, I think. Bring that back down. So the next challenge is finding center. So we'll need to do some measurements to find the center of this and do our 2-inch, 2 1/4 inch hole in the middle. That way we can start fitting our light through it. So we're actually pretty fortunate to have these measurements really easy. So if we've got right at 5 inches, that means 2 1/2 is going to be the middle. And then this way is going to be 6 inches, so that'll be 3. So if we go to that line, mark 3. So in theory, that little dot is going to be our center. So the next thing is we will take either, I think it'll be easier with the lens. The lens looks pretty good. Is right in the middle of that, and drawing a circle around it, because that is smaller than where our little standouts are, and I'm hoping we can press fit it in. So we're gonna draw this out, and we'll take a little Dremel tool and I'll cut that out with a Dremel, and probably do it on the inside of the line. So I'd rather have too small of a hole than too big, and we have to do a cut all over again. So we're going to use this center circle as our center line. We're just going to look straight down. That looks just about right, and we're going to draw our circle around it. Now, I'm kind of afraid to use the Sharpie because I don't want to mark up the lens, but we've got wipes, so we'll work with it. Alright, so let's grab our Dremel and let's cut that out. So we've got our hole drilled out with that Dremel tool. It's not the most beautiful circle, but it does work. And you can see we cut it on the inside of that line. So we're going to put our housing on here, and it fits in a little snug, which is exactly what we want. You can see there's some tension on this one here, a little bit here. So if we grab our lens, see if we can press it on. And just like that. Shaking it around. Car driving down the road. All right, I like that. So the only downside is we're gonna have to take some cleaner and get that silver Sharpie off of there, because now you can really see it. But that's pretty good. Not bad for our first try. So looks pretty centered to me as well. It looks good to me. Now I do apologize for the fan. You know, it's 102, so you can't blame me. But let's get this back off and we'll clean up all of this. And then that means we can start attaching the metal on the back side of the car. Well, that corner in the car. This is when having a lift would be really nice. But here we are on the ground like everyone else. So what we're gonna be doing is, now that I've got two hands, I've got a hole that I can hold it with. I know it's not beautiful right now, but just work with me here. So what I'm gonna be doing is just kinda, you know, giving my best impression of what the middle looks like. I'm trying to use the lines on the metal as my gauge for straightness. I was following the lines of the car. So I like where that sits, and I think that's pretty centered. We can have 1, 2 rows of holes, 1, 2, 3. So if we went this way, 1. So now we've got 1, 2, 3, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're gonna have to kind of bridge a gap between some of those large holes, make sure it's nice and straight. And we're gonna take our glue on the metal, do a nice bead all the way on the outside. I've already cleaned the back side of this with some glass cleaner and a Scotch-Brite, got all that crud and road grime off of there. And then I'm gonna be able to come through and press it all down. And then we can let this dry. Now, as this dries in place, we're gonna touch up paint some of this in here where the metal is, because I think you'll still be able to see it. But we'll just take a Q-tip and some spray paint. We'll put in a little cup and we'll take that Q-tip and dab it on there. That way it just kind of hides the silver so it doesn't show through the white. Then we're gonna start doing some work on the actual lens itself. So let's start attaching this into place. Well, that didn't work because this edge rolls in, so I'm gonna have to actually put the glue on this lip on the inside in order for it to stick to the metal, because that roll is making a gap that can't sit because that's nice and flat. So we're just gonna have to go in from this side and put the glue on here. While that glue is drying on this side, we had to clamp it in place. For some reason I thought it was Gorilla Super Glue that was weather resistant, but that's just regular Gorilla Glue. So that's gonna have to sit for like 2 hours before we can do that. So we'll probably finish the entire front before that one's even dry, but that's fine. We're gonna start on this one. This is just gonna be a regular blockout plate. We've got a little bit here, so I'll clean this up and put some more of that black paint on there to cover that up. And we'll need it's about, let's just say 3 3/4 by, let's say 2 1/2, 2 3/4. So we'll just add another inch on each side, so about 5 wide and about 4, let's just say 4 tall. So let's cut ourselves another piece. We'll dabble with some paint to cover that up, and we'll get that glued in there as well. So to fix this, we're gonna take some of our duplicolor engine enamel. You can actually spray it in that little cup in the lid. Like that, you'll get a little pool of paint. Take your Q-tip, just roll it on like that. This is by no means a super professional job, but better than that rusty brown that's in there now, and it kind of coats it, protects it, stuff like that. So we're gonna let that dry. We're gonna set this to the side to dry also. Once that dries, we'll be able to put our little piece in here, nice little square piece. We're going to take some dabs of super glue just on some of the corners to hold it in place, along with our weather-resistant Gorilla Glue, and do the same thing from the back side. The super glue will hold it in place. We'll put some blue tape, kind of hold it in place. I think we're going to go more vertical here because it follows the body lines. So we're going to let stuff dry, get stuff set up, and then hopefully this will be relatively close to being done. And we can take it off and take a look at it. But we're going to do the same thing here on the other side. So I'm going to start doing all this, knocking it out. I'm going to bring you guys back when everything is dried, and we'll start putting those lenses back in. So we're going to move on to our actual lights themselves while everything is finishing up drying. And we've got our one power wire coming in that's black, and we don't have anything grounded to it yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some of this blue wire, because it goes to the blue wire in the car as our ground. We're going to feed it through the back, and we will actually solder that down onto that plate, and we'll run our length of wire. And it happens to be as long as this jumper from the bottom up to the wheel well, through the side fender well, to the connector for the turn signals. And we're going to switch over from black to red. I'm going to cut this down a little bit. That way we know it's our power wire from our turn signals, and we'll kind of keep those wound together up to the fender well. All we're going to do is hit twice, and the best part is these bulbs are the same bulbs that are used on the dash and on those marker lights, so they're readily available in case these ever burn out. But that's all we're going to be doing right now. We've got our wire set up, our strippers, we've got our heat shrink ready to go, so we're just going to make some modifications so that we can have these ready. I'm also thinking of putting some tape on this on the front here and then painting it all black and letting this dry. Of course this would stay white on the inside, but that way it kind of hides a little bit better behind our metal part too. So lots going on, kind of off camera, not really exciting, but I'm going to bring you guys back when everything is soldered together and put back together, and these will be black, and that way we can start reassembling everything. Alright, so everything is wired up in place. The lenses are fully put on, so I'm going to show you guys what they look like, and then we're going to give them a test. So this is the final placement. I think those look really good, and those holes just kind of vanish on the front of the car, and you can't even really tell. I still like the little grill in them. It's turned out really good. You notice how dirty I am, but I really like this. This looks really, really good. The outer ones are angled just a little bit to keep these even with the outside, and these are vertical, so it kind of follows the natural curve of the car, at least I think. But we definitely need to give it a bath. But I think that looks really good. And so what we're going to do is we're going to hit the hazard switch, because that gives power to everything with the key off. Alright, we ready? Oh, that looks so good. And they work. That's the important part. They're pretty even. They look central to me. Pretty balanced. Man, not bad for 40 bucks. We did pretty good on those. That wasn't very hard at all. It just took some time and a little bit of research on where to get the parts, and that aluminum is going to last forever. It won't rust. It's already coated. It matches the car. I mean, it couldn't have gone any easier. But man, these look really, really good on the car. I'm really happy with these. Well, that's going to be the end of this episode. This was actually a really straightforward and easy process. It just had to go from scratch, cut our own pieces. We ran the wire straight up the inner fender well and up through the hole that the headlight wiring goes through, and just tied it in directly to our original factory wiring, and it works just fine. That's the nice thing about not having to convert to the LED. We could one day in the future, but the old school incandescent bulbs work great. You can see them, that's all that matters. It was a really straightforward and easy job, and it only took a couple hours, but it's because we were being really meticulous and setting the glue and a little bit of paint touch up here and there. So it wasn't so bad, but for 40 bucks, you can do this on your own from those turn light signals. You can pick this up at the local auto parts store. I got mine from Advanced Auto Parts. It was like $12 for both of them with the light bulb. And then the metal material, it's your choice. They had all sorts of different colors and patterns and styles. I just really like this one because it's black and aluminum. Can't go wrong. That was like 15 bucks. And then the glue. That's really all it took. Time will tell how long it'll hold. I've got plenty of material, so in case it does fall off, really hot day, rain, something, it comes off, no big deal. We can always get another one. That's kind of the nice thing about picking up the parts locally. So that's the really nice part about that. So, are you ready for the big announcement? I have not forgotten. Trust me, I have not forgotten. So I've gotten a lot of messages and comments, and so has one of my other friends, about us doing a video together. So I had the opportunity to meet this friend at the Vick Autosports open house, and if you guys saw that video, you knew who this friend is. So it's been much anticipated, and it's finally worked out to where myself here at Garage Time TV, we're going to pair up with Jesse from Eldest Builds. He did his 1979 Fiat Spider project a couple years ago. Still a really good friend of mine, and so we're going to head out to his place. We're going to trailer up the Fiat. We're going to go out to his place and do a collaboration video on fixing the floor pans in this car. Now that we're moving into the interior, we want to fix those rusty floor pans underneath that gas pedal along the transmission tunnel, and a couple of the holes from the old air conditioning system that was put in this car. We're going to patch all that up so we can start putting sound deadening and insulation, all that good stuff on the inside of the cab. So that's our big announcement. We're going to be pairing up with Jesse from Eldest Builds to work on this Fiat, and it's actually going to be happening Saturday, so technically tomorrow from the release date of this video is when we're actually going to get together. So there may be a gap between videos. There may be no video next week, or there may be a video next week, depends how long it takes us to work on this. So if you don't have a video next week, that's why. It's a big pair up, big collaboration. I can't wait to show you guys. So make sure you guys like, subscribe, and comment. I really do appreciate it. It helps support the channel. We still have shirts and drink sleeves available. You need to send me an email, garagetimetv@gmail.com, and we'll get you placed in order. I have a few left, so if you're looking to get one, make sure you guys place your order, and we'll get those out to you. So thank you guys so much, and until next time, we'll see you.